our host, Mina Valentine. Mina, I just came up with another unbelievable topic today. It's bleeding leeches laudanum, healthcare in the Georgian era. What did healthcare actually look like in the Georgian era,
Uh,
Georgian period?
it was pretty primitive by today's standards. Um, if, well, of course, first of all, they thought women were hysterical. That's the, hysterical comes from the word hysta, like hysterectomy, hysta. So it comes from really a slam at women. Hysterical. Women could be hysterical. Their periods made them crazy. But if I was sick with, I was losing weight. Okay. I was losing weight. I couldn't eat. I couldn't hold food down. The doctor would come if I was in the aristocracy and if in the aristocracy I still had money because a lot of people in the aristocracy didn't have money. They just went on credit, and bled everybody to death. But a doctor would come and he could bleed you. And the thought was to get all the poisons out of the blood, which is kind of stupid because here I am, I'm losing weight, I'm throwing up, I can't hold anything down, and you're going to bleed me. Right? And then for pain, they gave laudanum, and it was pretty bad. Excuse me. After the wars, the men would come back, and the ones with injuries, they would even end up in these opium dens. They had opium dens, and they would go and smoke themselves to death to ease pain. Um, Doctors would give laudanum. There were a few people that had enough sense to say, you know what? I've seen what this does. I don't really want to take it if I don't have to. Um, the other thing that was funny is women that were um, preparing for childbirth would rather have a midwife than a doctor because doctors didn't really know how to deliver babies back then. Midwives did. And they had a lot more experience at it too because they went around tenants where the tenants were and would deliver their babies, sometimes for free, sometimes for chicken, sometimes for a loaf of bread, those kind of things. Um, and trade, actually, there's a lot to be said for bartering. Anyway,
Mhm.
um, but even George Washington, he was ill and he was a big man,
Right.
but he might have lived in the, I have to underscore might, because we don't know exactly what was wrong with him, but they bled him so frequently and so with so much that he didn't stand a chance of fighting any kind of internal infection at all. So when he died, he was pretty dehydrated, pitiful. But that's what they did back then, and I don't know.
Mm.
The Egyptians really had a better grasp on how to treat illness than the English in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, 18th century. I don't I and I and in the 18, I forget when it was, later in the 1800s, there was a doctor, and there were a few even before, but they weren't publicized. But this doctor said, "Hey, we got to wash our hands before we put them on a sick patient or try to cut into somebody or deliver a baby." And the guy was ostracized and
Right.
really drummed out of the medical profession because the doctors were too good to
Right.
to pass infections to anyone.
Oh,
Really?
well, so let's talk about, because we are close to running out of time. What were the most common treatments and remedies for illness?
Well, they depended a lot on um, you know gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? They would make things. They would cut powder down flowers or plants or whatever and make a poultice. Yeah, a poultice. And those worked very well. But the people that made the poultices were mostly women from Scotland. Um, uh, some smart doctors, when they couldn't do something, but they felt like a poultice would work, they would call in a woman. Usually the women that did those, they were cooks or something, you know, and they would make these poultices for the patients, and they did remarkably well. There were a lot of good plants that you could use that grew in England that were worthy of using for infections, those kind of things.
All right. We talked about class, wealth effect in medical care,
Big difference.
and then women really didn't participate a lot in healthcare as except as midwives. And did we see any major medical advances during the Georgian time for
No,
healthcare?
no, no, no. If there are, I'm not aware of them. Um, uh, no, and if I find out later that there were some, I'll tell you next week.
All right. All right. So the best place to go is minavalentine.com. Purchase her books, learn more about her, and follow her on social. Appreciate it, Mina.
Oh, oh yeah, and I have to say, there's a doctor that works in my book series of the Four Horsemen, and it has a lot of information about what they did back then.
All right. Thanks, Mina.
Bye
That
bye.
was